We're live. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. We're in the room. Hello, Heather. Are you all right?
I'm okay. I'm here. It's nice to be here. So
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. Obviously, it was lovely to talk to Becky, and it was lovely to talk to Susie as well.
yeah,
It's wonderful to have you back. Wonderful. Missed you.
yes, it's been a very strange couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully things will start to settle down a little bit for you soon. That'll be nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's the hope. It's a very strange time, and obviously with everything that's going on out there in the world and the COVID thing and what have you, everything's going to take a lot longer anyway. So it all makes it a very strange place to be right now.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? And it's hard to know. It's just one of those things. It's everyone's really struggling with so many things, and obviously you've had, lots of extra things to deal with too. It's just a nightmare. So
Yes, and it was incredibly unexpected. I think,
yeah,
truth be known, that's been the biggest shock. Everyone expects when you get to a certain age that your parents are going to get older and move forward. That's kind of what happens. But this was really unexpected. So yeah, yeah.
he was very well. Your dad, wasn't he? He was very fit. You were saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was 80, but even the doctors were saying, "What?" They were doing a double take. This is a
Yeah.
guy who walked 5 miles a day.
Wow.
All weathers, absolutely as fit as an ox. I mean,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes to show that you cannot legislate for everything. It was nothing to do with COVID, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. It was
Yeah.
completely unrelated.
Yeah.
You never know what life holds. But
No.
it's just the way. You can't plan.
It was a similar thing with my dad. He was very, very fit. He was a long distance runner. So he used to run in excess of 100 miles a week. Um, and he had, out of the blue, he had a heart attack actually. Um, and if you'd made a list of all the people in the whole world, sort of ranking in order of likelihood to have a heart attack, you'd have stuck him right down at the bottom, in the bottom billion.
Yeah, exactly.
um, and then he had a heart attack, and then a couple of years had another one, and he went back to running as well. That was what was so weird. He got fit again and went back to running, and then yeah, and it was the third one that killed him off. It was really bizarre, and it's just odd. It's like you say, you just can't legislate for anything. You could be as fit as a flea,
Yeah.
and get run over by a bus, or just the weirdest things happen to you, don't they?
The universe is random.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is truly random. And I think if there's anything that one can learn from, not just my experience particularly, but this whole thing,
Yeah.
is don't put anything off. Just
Yeah.
bloody do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Live for today. I
Yes.
kind of learned that lots of years ago. When I was very sick.
Yeah.
And I know you've been poorly too.
Yeah. We knew this, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And when you are really very, very ill, it does make you look at things differently, doesn't it? It really makes you see the world from a different way, and it makes you act. Well, it made me act really differently, and I do all sorts of things that I probably wouldn't have done
Yeah.
15 years ago. I sort of go for things, and I think, well, why not?
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So actually, I've been asked to go on a radio show in a couple. Well, actually, next month.
Ooh.
I was going to say a couple of months' time, but actually it's next month, it's February. And actually that's the topic of conversation. It's, sort of having that kind of shove to make you do things differently and see the world differently. That's the topic of conversation. And yeah, I've done all sorts of stuff since then that I probably would, as I say, I would never have done before. It just makes, like I said, it makes you sort of think, well, life's too short.
I
Yeah.
think it makes you braver. Especially
That-
if somebody who did hold back or maybe lacked a little confidence, you kind of think, well, what's the point in worrying about what other people think?
Yeah.
In doing what you think you're supposed to do. And I was having this conversation with my son literally about half an hour ago, and he was talking about his career and what he might do. And I said, the thing is, son, you're a bit like your mother. You're very good at an awful lot of things, but you need to do what makes your heart sing, what you love. And that's what your job is, to find that. Took me many years, and it's not always the same thing at that stage of your life. It can be one thing in your 20s and a whole another thing in your 40s and yet another thing in your 60s. But knowing that you've got the right to do something that you love is probably more important than anything.
It's funny, isn't it? So many people get pushed into a certain direction, sometimes by their parents that, for example, maybe their parents have been doctors, so they kind of push their kids into the same thing. But like you say, if it doesn't make you happy, if that's not your particular calling, then
you're good at it. That's the thing. You can be good at something and still not really want to do it.
Somewhere awful, it's just And so when my kids were doing all the lessons and stuff, when it came to O levels and A levels and GCSE, sorry, showing the age.
I have to remember that. Year is now year 9.
Yes. And again, I said to them, don't do what you think you should do because of, somebody else is doing it, or because, you think you should. Do subjects that you enjoy. Not only are you likely to get a much better result because you enjoy the subject rather than taking it because you think you should or whatever, but also, of course, it means that you're going to be happy doing that, and happiness is a big part of life, isn't it?
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah, very much so. Well, we've got a couple of people we need to say hello to. We've got Tina in, hello, and I think that says Carmela or Carmel. Hello. Finally managed to make it to a live, she says. Hello.
Hello and welcome.
So, yes, I'm guessing you've not done too much in the witchy front, Heather.
Well,
have you?
Well, no. I mean, I suppose not in a formal way, but I sat with my father from 9 o'clock at night until about 5:30 in the morning. And when you're with somebody who is between the worlds, because he was in a coma at that time, so he wouldn't have consciously known I was there, but I probably used every ounce of my magical being to connect for him to know I was there, and it was fairly obvious that recovery was probably not going to be an option. So to encourage that, that's quite magical work, really. And I wasn't necessarily consciously doing it, but that's what you are there. I think in the same way that you are helped into the world, you should be helped on that journey from it as well. And I feel that more strongly. And every time I see this, and I've seen it enough times in my life now, I feel that that's a very important thing to do.
It's something that's often neglected, isn't it?
Very much so. It's so important.
It really is. And as you say, you get help at the beginning, but at the end, it's totally different, isn't it? It's it's sad.
So many people can't be with their loved ones, and obviously with the COVID situation, that's. But we were in a hospital and we were allowed in because I don't think anyone would have dared told me that I wasn't. I tend to find if I'm in a hospital, people tend to assume I'm part of the staff, and I've never known why. But when things happen, people ask me directions, or they'll assume I'm on the staff, and I don't know what it is. It makes me giggle sometimes. But it's very useful for getting stuff done.
I have exactly the same thing, and sometimes they think I'm staff, so I might go down to a canteen and they ask for my pass to give me a discount. I've had that many a time.
I've had that.
And also, I have nurses coming and asking about something, and they know that I'm not a doctor on the ward, that I'm visiting somebody, but they'll come and ask me things because they think that I'm a general doctor trundling about, and it's like, well, I'm just here. I don't know. I can give you my opinion, but it won't necessarily be valid.
Might not help. I didn't realise you had that as well. I know I've experienced it many times in hospital settings, and obviously it was a bit different the last time I was there. But I had to kind of like stamp the feet a little bit because at the quiet of the night, you tend to find that there's very few people about, and you still want, to know where to go to make coffee for, but they,
Bizarre, isn't it? See, yet another thing. We're twin flames, my love. It's strange, very strange. I did a moot last night, and actually that was quite interesting because on the subject of hospitals, one of the ladies that came into the moot, friend of mine, she was having a small procedure done today. Well, not so small, having a procedure done today, And she was less worried about the procedure, more worried about going into hospital because of the COVID situation. You know, she was genuinely worried about that. So I said, well, come to the moot, because it's not really her bag. I said, but come to the moot, because there'll be lots of people there that will give you suggestions and advice on what might help, you know, to either calm your nerves or keep the dreaded lurgy at bay or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating, the different angles that people were coming from to suggest help. And it was great, you know, because for me, I was sort of thinking, oh, talismans, amulets, that kind of thing. And then somebody suggested sigils. And I said, well, if you're going to do a sigil, then, and obviously if you're having a procedure, you can't really be taking, you know, bits of paper in with you and all that kind of stuff. And I said, you know, put it in biro on your foot, because she was having something with her head. So I said, you know, put it in biro on your foot, you know, things like that. And it's, you know, she sort of took away all sorts of tips and tricks to just kind of get on top of it, really, you know, and it's,
to control the anxiety.
Control the anxiety, yeah. And of course, control the wretched virus. So, you know, if it comes to that, you sort of think, well, why not take that into everyday use? You know, I was reading something, an article a couple of weeks ago, and it was a makeup article actually. But what was interesting about it, it was makeup from a witchy point of view. And of course, us witches do wear some sometimes, don't we?
We do.
It was interesting because it was saying about putting sigils on your face with foundation before you blend it, because obviously people see your face. So if you put some sigils on your face, on your cheeks, and then blend foundation, and I thought, well, simple things like that, actually, yeah, why not? You know, if you're going for a job interview or just going out and you don't want to get ill, whatever it might be, anything in between, yeah, absolutely use that magic and use it in that way. And that was a really different slant that I'd not thought of before. And I thought, well, I like that.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that before. The other thing that came up at the moot was that I found really interesting was that we were talking about poppets. And of course, our friend Lucia, she's very much on the poppet front, isn't she? Well, I said,
yes.
We wasn't able to come to the moot yesterday, but we've got onto the subject of poppets anyway. And Susie, who'll probably pop in a bit later. Hello, Susie.
I think Susie's here. Yes.
Oh, I didn't notice her. Hello. Yeah, and she was saying that she'd made a poppet out of cellophane, and I thought, ooh, well, that's different. I've not done one of those before. And it was to help people. It was to do with a lyre. And it was to help people see through the light. I thought, well, yeah,
wow.
And I'd not come across that one before, and I hadn't thought of that. And I thought that's genius. I like that. Yeah, and she put some sigils on, you know, on some tape and so on. I thought that's really good. I like that whole see-through thing and stuff. That really resonated. Isn't it funny? Every now and again, someone will say something or you read something, and it just resonates. It really does. So yeah, interesting. So right, we've got some more people in. I have to put my glasses on because I've only said hello to 2 people. That's a bit remiss, isn't it?
Yes, we've got more than 2.
Join. Hello, and where are we? We've got Becca. That's all Becca's all round. Tracy. Hello, Tracy. And we've got Jewelry Sales and Rowan. Hi. Hello, Rowan from the cold north.
It's not too warm down here either.
Yeah, no, it's not that warm, is it? I seem to have escaped the snow. I don't know how.
So did we. We haven't seen any of it. So
you're not? Oh, because
where are flying?
It's weird, isn't it? Because where I used to live, and my children, my daughter and my son live, it's really like winter wonderland over there. Had the grandchildren playing out in the snow and all sorts, yeah. And yet here, I think we had about 25 dinner plate sized flakes land earlier, in amongst the rain, and that was it. So yeah.
Well, we had my friend Jo, who lives in Croydon. She didn't have any, and she's in Croydon. It's like that's not very far from.
No, but there's lots of people in Croydon that have had it.
It's very old.
Yeah, it's very strange. We've got Maya in. Hello, Maya. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. And Cornell. Hello. Who else have we got? There's Susie. There we are. Hello. Yeah. And sigils down your bra. I have all sorts of things down my bra. Not
God,
just ignoring
it's a
things.
cornucopia of many stuffs. Goodness me, what that woman doesn't carry, it's like Mary Poppins' bag. There's everything down there.
Tends to be quite small things that go in there. There's not much room.
Pulls out all this stuff.
Oh, they're more frontal pockets.
That's why I like pocketses.
Love pockets. Yeah. What is it with pockets? I read somewhere. Oh, read all sorts. I read somewhere. Apparently, they were. It was something that was actively discouraged in the male population for women, so that they didn't carry all sorts of paraphernalia with them, and it made them more reliant on men.
Funny that. I can see that being quite true. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was just sort of pre-Victorian times, I think, if I remember rightly. But I thought, well, yeah, that kind of, I don't know, that seems to ring true to me. I thought, yes, there's probably quite a lot of truth in that. So yeah, bring back pockets. Hashtag bring back pockets.
Well, there is a bit of a campaign. I mean, it's obviously in my kind of other life as an eBay reseller, in that if a dress has got pockets in, I put that in the title because people like me like a dress with pockets.
Yeah,
and it's the selling point. It's unusual enough still.
Yeah. I bought a dress in the summer off the internet. Good old internet. Came from China. You never quite know what you're getting from China, do you? And
I do, because I've done it.
The pockets. Oh my god! The little tiny jeans pockets that you get, the coin pocket. They're about that big. They're I was absolutely gutted. So, oh yeah, black dress with pockets. Thank you very much. And then it turned up. And I thought, oh right.
Yeah.
I've no idea what I'm supposed to put in it.
Yeah. And also, of course, everything comes up very, very short with the waist
Yes.
in the wrong place, because of course it's meant for someone who's about 4'11", not 5'9" or 10.
Yeah, so for us it's a bit rubbish, isn't it?
Do you remember that cat dress I tried on a long time ago when I was over at yours, and the pockets were literally kind of up under my armpits? It's hilarious.
What that one my pockets? Yeah,
Very old.
about that. Yeah, but that was supposed to be right down to the floor, that dress, and it just was skimmed the bottom of your knee, didn't it?
It wasn't even a midi. Let's put it that way. It was very disappointing. Oh, Jules popped in here. We're needing some advice about her mum.
Okay, what have we got?
Glasses on.
Right, glasses on.
There we go.
Okay. So, Mum's been in 3 weeks waiting heart surgery. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Had a COVID test to prepare for surgery, and it came back positive this afternoon. Oh no. Right. Okay. Positive vibes. Well, most people tend to plump for the candle magic option, don't they? That seems to be the go-to thing. So yeah, lighting candles and sending positive energy. But it doesn't seem to be a particularly, I don't know, sometimes I just don't feel that that's quite strong enough.
No, that's more of a general thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're on a waning at the moment, aren't we?
We're what, sorry?
We're on a waning moon right now, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think so.
We've got another few days for that, haven't we?
Yeah, so we're still on a waning. So in theory, that's a good time to try and banish something. So, I don't know. I'd be tempted to sort of use some incense, and burning something to make it go.
I suppose what you could do, you could incorporate candle magic with actually burning papers, couldn't you? So yeah, if you were to write down specifics, so your mum's name, for example, and obviously what's wrong, and obviously in this case, rather depends on what's most prevalent, really. But I suppose either, or you could write down, the reason she's in hospital in the first place, the heart problem plus the COVID. and write it there, and that you wish it to go, you want it to go, and really concentrate on it leaving, and that, you know, sort of really concentrate, you know, sort of get into almost like a little trance about thinking about how she's going to recover. Think about it hour by hour, day by day, on her recovery, and sort of, you know, see facial expressions, for example, as she's getting better, you know, a bit more smiley, perhaps a bit more chatty, a bit more mobile. And as you're thinking about that, burn the paper in the flame, and then with the ashes, you know, you can flush them away down the loo and things like that. That might be something that you could try and do. Yeah. Yeah, and things along those lines, really. That's kind of like off the top of my head to start with.
That would be my go-to, I think, for something quite quick and where you're using visualization skills, if that's something that you feel you can do, because not everyone finds visualization easy. But just getting that picture of her being well in your mind as well, focusing on that.
If you find it tricky, of course, finding a photo of your mum when she was, you know, at the peak of health, you know, when she was fit and well, things like that, and kind of visualize her, you know, getting out of hospital bed, and, you know, sort of getting back in. Maybe it was a birthday party that there's a photograph of, or having a meal out or something like that. And if you can visualize, try and sort of see her getting back to that good state of health again, and using that photograph or a couple of photographs almost like visual props, that might help too. Any oils that you recommend for that?
Any what, sorry?
Or any herbs or oils particularly? Heather, what would you say?
What's coming to me is like a rose scent.
Yeah.
Something that smells floral, which is about growth and better times. I feel perhaps would be pink. Seems to be the colour that's coming to me as well. But that's just off the top of my head.
If you're into crystals, rose quartz.
Rose quartz.
Yeah.
Rose quartz.
Even maybe some, I don't know, rose quartz water. If you need help with concentration, then you can always mix the rose scent with some rosemary. You know, either real rosemary from the supermarket or from your garden, or if you've got some rosemary essential oil, or even rosemary incense. You know, anything along those lines, because rosemary is really good to help with concentration, and that will help you perform, you know, your visualization maybe more easily as well. So that might well help. What have we got here? We've got some suggestions.
Janet's suggestion here is absolutely fantastic. That makes perfect sense. It's a lovely one to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, write what you want to banish on a sticky label, stick it under your shoe, and then go for a walk to make it disappear. I like that. It's so simple and perfect.
It is. Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that very much.
I love those very practical things that you just, I mean, obviously you've got to have a sticky label that you can find, but make it vanish.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like that. And of course, you know, from our point of view, obviously we're sending our positivity to you as well, and to your mum. So it's an absolute sod, this blooming thing, isn't it? Drives you nuts. Really. It's just not good.
Susie's suggesting pulmonaria there. I know that is quite well known. It's a good herb for the lungs. I've got it in my garden. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
It's kind of a mottled, it has quite a big leaf, and then it's sort of slightly mottly, and I suppose it looks a bit like a lung, you know, as often happens with these things. It's the appearance, isn't it? But I'm
Oh, I must look that one up. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Is it
I'm quite good with herbs, but I don't know that one.
I don't know if it's a herb. That's the thing. I mean, it might be. I know it's a plant because
Yeah. Oh, I don't know that one. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? When you pool all the knowledge of people, it's fascinating.
It is, yeah. And that's what I was saying about yesterday, you know, when we had the moot, and there were there was a good half a dozen of us all coming up with slightly different suggestions or adding on to a suggestion that somebody else had made. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe that, or that plus this, or that including that. And it was really good. And it means that you can pick and choose exactly what suits you. Because like you said, visualization might not be your thing, but then you've got, well, if that's the case, then there's the option maybe of adding in a photograph or adding in the rosemary or whatever to help with that. So yeah, there's that's the nice thing about sort of having a think about it with other people that are in the know, really, isn't it?
Because there'll be something in there that you can use. And,
exactly, yeah. And the nice thing is to know that you're not on your own with it as well. Sort of struggling to find something on your own is not always that easy. Whereas if you've got a couple of people coming at it from different angles and different experiences, that makes it all the, I don't know, just makes it all the more simple, and it makes it that much more effective too, doesn't it? Because then you can really hone it to your own personal abilities and thoughts. Yeah.
Well, apparently Susie has got some pulmonaria growing in her garden. She's going to give you some. But thank you, Susie, for standing in for me. I very much appreciate it, and I enjoyed the show. And the same is true of Becky, of course.
Of course,
Our other Becky.
What have we got here? If you've a mind to, please do some magic for the US. Violent protesters have shut down Congress, certifying Biden as good grief.
Right, yes, that needs some work. We'll be doing that tonight. Yes.
Yeah, we'll do that this evening. Wow, we'll do that after we finish this.
That's got it. No, thank you for letting us know, Rowan. That's an important one. We've kind of taken my eye off the ball of what's gone on in America with what's been going on here, but goodness me.
Because there's so much talk about this, the virus, it dominates so much of things, and everything else takes second place, doesn't it?
Yeah, and everything else is just as important as it ever was.
Yeah.
You know,
You don't necessarily hear about it because everything's taken up with what the situation is, isn't it? And also because people are very wrapped up in how it affects them personally, very often you get that whole thing. You just stop listening to other things that are going on, don't you, too?
Yeah.
So
that's horrible. And this is democracy. This is freedom of people, and that's outweighs most other things. So thank you, Rowan. I'll be that'll be on my to-do list for, because I tend to do a lot of my magic. I probably said this before. I tend to do a lot of my work in that space before I go to sleep. Because bless my lovely other half, his head hits the pillow, he's gone. So I then get a good hour, I suppose, which I enjoy, where I use that time to do my magical work before I go to sleep. So I will be doing that. Thank you. Oh man, what's happening? Really?
Oh God. Yeah, not fun. Not fun at all. Oh. Well, it just knocks your socks off, doesn't it? And it just, like you say, all this stuff's still happening, and you kind of become, I don't know, disassociated from it almost, don't you?
Well, you can only take so much in. I think the way things are currently, because everything's in such a state of flux, it's overwhelming. So the response can be, and I speak from personal experiences, I'll go and have a look at something and go, oh, that's interesting, and then I'll look at something else. I don't tend to watch the news per se, but once a day I'll try and catch up on what's happening because I think it's important to know. But you can get sucked into it, and then it's overwhelming because you feel powerless, and then you start to kind of get all about it, and it's like, okay, I know what I can do. Before I go to bed, I will do what I can. I'll do my little bit, and hopefully there's lots of other people doing their little bit, and together it will help, and that's all we can do.
I'll tell you what it brings to mind, actually, was, do you remember when we had the when there was the wildfires last year in the summer? Obviously there were the wildfires wildfires in Australia, weren't there? And of course that made
and California as well, where America had
America had it as well. And it was quite interesting because there were lots of witches that banded together to try and there was an awful lot of stuff going on. There was sigils that were being made, and people, including me, were sort of like drawing these sigils in various places on their bodies to, sort of like keep them going. And
I was doing my weather work because that's what I can do. Bringing rain rather than getting rid of it, which is normally my talent. I had to kind of reverse polarities on what I normally do.
Yeah. And it was quite amazing how everybody was really trying to pull together, to make it a better place and to make it stop. And of course, cheers went up everywhere, didn't they? When there was
when it rained.
Rains, yeah. And of course, there was so much blooming rain, nobody could cope with it. It's like, oh God.
Oh God, they had floods. It was like, whoops.
Oh God. But of course, that's the thing. You get so many people trying to help, and like you say, it went from one extreme to the other. It was all God, it was just horrid, really, wasn't it? That seems such a long time ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're in midsummer now, aren't they? So it's the height of summer down in Australia. So I would imagine it's probably, going to be an issue again. But how much we get to hear about it because of the world being swamped by COVID and various things. Yeah.
It was when they had the problems last time. It was kind of between bouts of COVID, almost, wasn't it? They'd had one lockdown, and it was sort of then released a bit, wasn't it? And things kind of started to not get back to normal exactly, but they kind of lifted, and it wasn't so extreme. Of course, then it was all back to square one again. But we sort of had this miserable time in the middle where everyone else was desperate for help. Oh God, it was just
it was a busy time.
It's such a long time ago. So yeah. So I don't think the summer's as extreme as it was last year. My daughter lives in Brisbane, and normally I sort of get updates on how hot it is and how she's coping and how she's not. But she's not been saying anything like normal as to how hot it is over there. So obviously it's not quite so bad. But there's plenty of time, I'm sure. Yeah, things change, don't they? But
yeah.
Good. At the moment, everything seems to be okay. Yeah. Good God. Yes. On a lighter note, it's my last day of working for the care agency on Sunday. Well, I'm really looking forward to it.
So, happy dance for you.
Yeah. Yeah. A nightmare though. I mean, this last month or so working with them has been challenging. Yeah. But yeah, I can't wait until Sunday night. At 10 o'clock, I should be done. I can't wait. And actually, what's quite nice is that the new thing that I'm going to, because of COVID, they've had to push it back a couple of weeks. So whereas I was only going to get a couple of days off between finishing that and then starting the new thing, they've had to push it back a couple of weeks. So it's quite nice actually, because it means that I've got a couple of weeks at home. And yes, I've got a holiday. I think I've had 6 hours off in the last year. So I'm quite looking forward to having a couple of weeks. So that was quite nice.
A well-earned rest. Yeah. I'm sure you'll be making busy, but just nice to not have to be somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, that's one of the downsides with split shifts. You sort of like half do something and then leave it, and then don't feel like picking it up when you get back again at 10:30 or whatever. You just don't feel like it. And then the following morning comes and you've lost the impetus. So I've got half projects all over the place. Quite nice to finish a few off.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've also got lots of plans for this YouTube channel too. So I shall and get a few things sorted out with this too. So that's all quite exciting.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yes. I'm thinking of having a bit of a history spot.
Ooh.
Of course, witchy. But yeah, I was sort of thinking of over the ages. Obviously, there's been very many interesting witch trials and stuff, and I was thinking of maybe incorporating some of that onto here too. So yeah, something a bit interesting, bit of a historical bit. So something a bit different. So yeah, but it would be quite nice to have a couple of weeks just to catch up with stuff, and spend some time with my moglets. Here's one.
They want lots of attention. Oh, it's that one. Hello. I'm not happy about that. No, let me down.
Oh, what's the matter? She got on my lap voluntarily today.
Flipping heck.
Yeah. But do you know why that was? Because I was talking to Natalie on the phone, on loudspeaker, and she obviously remembers Natalie, even though she's not seen her, and she gets very excited when Natalie's on the phone. So she came and sat on her lap. So yeah, that was nice.
Oh, how sweet. I've got one asleep here. I've got Tinker Cat, but he's curled up on some stuff I need to photograph for tomorrow, so that's going to look really fetching with cat hairs all over it.
Oh, yes, out with a small brush. Or actually, you use packing tape, don't you, to get all the hairs off?
I've got the various brushes and implements for removing hairs. Yes, great.
God,
Thanks,
every
Tinker.
time I've got a film of either mud and or cat hair on it.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Sometimes
It's just,
both.
God. So it's just like the things, really. But it's just, you get the mud off and then you've got the cat hair. You get the cat hair off and then it's covered in mud. And you think, oh,
Yeah.
quite nice to have something that wasn't covered in either of those two things. But
exactly. My son went out for a bike ride yesterday because he's homeschooling now, so they had PE and they were told to choose things, and he opted for the bike ride. So of course it was raining and cold, and he came back absolutely covered. So he kind of strip off, and it all just went straight in the washing machine. He was like, "Oh, that's nice." And then I gave him a hot chocolate because why wouldn't you after that? It was like, poor boy.
I like hot chocolate with Tia Maria in, but that's no good if you're 14.
Well, I'm not going to give that to a 14-year-old boy. It's wasted.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait.
He does like a bit of hot chocolate, so he felt a lot better after that and had a lovely shower. But he was like, "Oh, homeschooling." He's like, "Oh, here we go again."
And that's going to be until at least February, they think, don't they?
It'll be until half term, but if I'm completely honest, and even from talking to the headmaster in the school meeting thing that we had, it's probably going to be Easter. It's got to be, because it's been taking so long to roll out the vaccination that wouldn't it be safer just to carry on at home until you're sure that your kids aren't going to be spreading it around the country? Yeah.
Wouldn't you? I know it's not easy for everybody, but it seems to make a bit more sense, I suppose.
It's easier at secondary level, to be fair, because they just go on and do their lessons, and I feel for anybody with a primary school child, especially a younger one, because you end up doing the teaching, it would seem. Whereas at least this way, I mean, his school is we're very lucky that his school are incredibly organised and really do seem to have got to grips with the programme of they have to be on and register at a certain time. They have team lessons and they have live lessons, and it's all fairly well structured. Some subjects better than others, just because. But I mean, he does fairly well in this sort of situation because he's fairly self-contained and actually finds it easier to learn sometimes without lots of distractions around him. But for other people, they really suffer because they need the social interaction, they need that connection. So it's what works for one doesn't work for another, really. And he's lucky that he's not at exam age. He's only in year 9, so hopefully by the time he gets to his GCSE levels, this will have blown over and they'll be back to normal. But the kids who are in it now, I feel so sorry for them, really. Horrible.
It's difficult, isn't it? Well, I don't know. We've got Jane saying that we need a day each week where it's against the law to even mention COVID.
I think that should be a law, shouldn't it? Really? Yeah. Let's not say the C word.
Yes. Let's not say the C word anymore. Sorry. Oh God. What else have we been up to? It was my daughter's birthday, and it's quite funny. She's not into our stuff. She just isn't. Never has been, and it's not her bag, and that's fine. I've got no problem with that, and she's got no problem with what I do, but it's just not her thing, and that's fine. But it always makes me smile because I presented her with a vegan birthday cake, which was very pretty, with pink glitter on it.
I hope you took a picture.
No, I think she did. Yeah, I think she probably did. She's one of those sort of people. Anyway, and of course she's like, have you got a candle for it? It's like, no. And she's like, well, no candle. I'm like, candle. You want to make a wish for a birthday cake, do you? And it's not your thing.
Magical.
Yeah. it does tickle me. It really does. It's like, you know, at 31, she still couldn't envisage having a birthday cake without a candle on it to blow out to make a wish. So she'd been getting a Yankee candle, which clearly sit on top of the cake.
Good things, aren't they?
Yeah, it was quite a big one. So she lit that next to it and then blew it out. And that had to do. And it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
It really makes me chuckle though. It's like, okay, it's not her thing, but she has to make a wish. Very basic magic, but yeah. And then the children were quite funny because one of them, the older one, he's nearly 7, and he said, I could tidy my room. And I said, I'll tell you what, if Mummy makes a wish that you tidy your room and you're really, really good, and you do tidy your room and you're really, really good, then Mummy will think her wish has come true, won't she? So he said, oh yeah. So he kind of said, why don't you wish for this, Mummy? And then disappeared for 20 minutes. And then he was beaming that he'd done it. And of course then
sweet.
And she's like, oh, my wish has come true. It's like, there you go. See? Bit of magic. Yeah. That's called nano magic. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's manipulation, that is, but it's good.
Oh, it works a treat. Manipulation and nano magic's all the same thing.
Yeah, ideology, I believe it's known as. Yeah, electrickery.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, it worked a treat. It was lovely and tidy. I don't know how good he was, but anyway.
Doesn't work when they're 14. Just saying.
No, true. I remember it well. You have to make the most of it when they're small, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bit of birthday magic. Excellent stuff. Yeah. So a friend of mine, she's due to be having a baby. Was actually due on Boxing Day, and I don't think it's arrived yet. It's obviously not cooked. Yeah. But I remember it well because my daughter was due on Christmas Day and she turned up on the 4th of January. So it's a similar kind of time scale, I suppose. But of course, I'm kicking myself because I made something for them. I shan't say anything because they might see. But I made something for them. And I should have given it to them before Christmas, before we had the lockdown. And just, timing. I finished it, but timing-wise, I just didn't get my act together to be able to go and see them, to give it to them. And of course, now I can't flipping well go and see them to give it to them, and I've made it, and I rather like it, but I'm like, no. But I suppose what I have to do is just go and hang it in a carrier bag on the door or something, and then they can sneak round the door and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not so, is it?
It's not quite the same, no.
That's all full of magical intent.
Yes.
And it's very much a magical baby as well, because they'd asked me to do some spell work in order for them to conceive. And that was their way of telling me that they'd been successful, in that they're going, your spell worked. And I'd had a really long day at work, and anything that anyone was saying to me was going right over my head.
Yes,
and they're like, your spell worked, point at her tummy, and she's like, oh.
Yes, a lot of magical babies in the world.
Yeah,
I've got one of those.
Yes, aren't they lovely?
Yeah. For somebody who's not particularly interested in magic currently, I find it quite hilarious, really. But give it time.
They come and go, don't they? And if it's for them, then it's for them. If it's not, it's not. But
exactly.
Yeah, I feel a bit disappointed sometimes that none of mine are interested in it. They're kind of interested in what I'm interested in, but that's as far as it goes. They're interested because I'm interested, rather than, which is very nice of them. But they're not interested.
And have not one of them actually not. Yeah, but then maybe skip to generation. You see.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same because my middle daughter's got lots of talent. She just doesn't choose to do anything with it. But she's in her late 20s, so she's got plenty of time to change her mind over the years. So she might come to it when she's an older person. You never know.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the timing isn't right, and there's too much else going on, and you get too caught up in the mundane. And like you and I were saying, when big stuff happens to you, that actually tends to be the shove that kind of, I wouldn't say pushes you in that direction, but certainly makes you reevaluate. And I think if you haven't had that, or then maybe it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think that's probably very true. Yeah, definitely. And it's a shame, really, because obviously mine was one of those things that I was always interested in it, really, and pretty much always dabbled with it. But yeah, it's a shame, really, because she's like, certainly my middle daughter, she's got lots of talent, and then doesn't choose to do anything. On the other hand, my little granddaughter,
exactly,
4-year-old,
witchy in the making.
Absolutely, she is. Yeah, she's out in the woods and she's on stick patrol.
Yes, takes a certain kind of child.
My daughter's got a fantastic photograph of when she was about 2. So yeah, a couple or 3 years ago. So it might have been 18 months, it might have been 2.5, but she wasn't very old anyway. And we'd gone off to Asda, like we do.
Magical.
Oh, very magical. But we'd gone to magical Asda at Halloween. It was a few days before Halloween. The photograph that my daughter took is so funny. I'm at one end of the Halloween aisle, busy looking at stuff, and my granddaughter's at the other end of the aisle, looking at stuff. And then my grandson, who's not in the least bit interested in that kind of stuff, is busy looking at all the footballs that are in a great big net in the middle. It's really funny. It's like, But he likes drawing them. As soon as the green pen comes out, I know what's coming, and it's like, that's you, isn't it? No, that's you.
Green, really?
Yeah, I'm not quite that shade, but getting there.
Yeah, I think it can skip generations, though, most definitely. I think there is an element, and Janet said it was a nan who taught her things, and quite often you need that distance of not being too close, in order to be able to learn from somebody.
Yeah, so maybe. Yeah, she's my little witchling. Do you know, she's very talented, though. When she'd only just turned 4, in fact, she might not even have just turned 4. She might have been coming up for 4. Anyway, round about that sort of time. And I'd gone to babysit, and my back, I've got a continuing problem with my back. I slipped a disc when I was about 11 or 12, and it's never been quite right. So, it's dodgy. And my back was definitely playing up and had been for several weeks. And so I went babysitting to my daughter's. And of course, I made the sort of ooh-ah noises like you do when something hurts.
Old people noises that we start
to old people noises, And so she looked very, very concerned, and she said, are you all right, Nana? So I said, no, Nana's back hurts, but it'll be all right soon. So she went, I can fix that, she said. So she disappeared off into her bedroom, and she came back with a complete works of Beatrix Potter.
Oh.
Like the entire box set of Beatrix Potter books. So she said, we need the purple one, she said, and pulled out the purple one upside down. And she wasn't any the wiser because she hadn't started school yet. So she opened Beatrix Potter upside down. It was the, which one was it? Can't remember which one it was. Anyway, it was the purple one. She opened it upside down, wasn't any the wiser, looked in it as though she was very, very, taking all in what she needed to do. Then she slammed it shut, plopped it down on the table, and she said, yes, she said, that's what you need to do. And then all in the same sort of second, she plopped it on the table, climbed up on my lap, and then she just, with her fingers, just went in my hair. And she did this for ages and ages. And I'm like, do you think that's actually going to help? And she said, it'll be better tomorrow. It's like, okay, do you know it was? It was. So I got up out of bed, and as Heather knows, I have to use a ladder to get out of bed, and it sounds very, very strange, but my bed's very high. I live in a rather odd house. And so I got up, came down the ladder, potted off to the toilet, put the kettle on, made myself my morning coffee and sat down, and then thought, oh, my back doesn't hurt. And I'd done all of that without even thinking about it. And I normally, even sitting up in bed, would be like, and using the ladder was definitely an ooh moment. And yet, it was probably about, I don't know, another 20 minutes after that, and then it started to come back again. And then it just gradually faded. over the next few days, and it's not been as bad since at all. Really weird. I haven't had to go to a chiropractor, which I normally do every 6 or 8 weeks or so. Yeah, and I haven't been to the chiropractor at all. Isn't that mad? There you go.
That's
Upside down Beatrix Potter. So anybody witches out there, it's all in the upside downedness. That's what it is.
And the purple one.
And the purple one. Yes, had to be the purple one. So yeah, it was odd though, very odd. But why she decided that that's what needed doing, I don't know. There you go. She's a funny little thing. She really is. Yeah, Jane's saying it's Jane, not Janet.
I know. I'm so sorry. It's just when you read it,
when you read it, yeah, it does look like that. Doesn't
the first thing you say is like, "I'm so sorry." Yes. Yes, I'm not sure how that's changeable.
Yeah. What's this here? Can't see. Hang on.
Nope.
Homeschooling. Oh yeah. Yeah, parents at home and homeschooling and stuff. Yeah.
That'll be good. Yeah. A respite.
Yeah. Oh dear. It's quite nice. I'm quite looking forward to, obviously I'm leaving my job, but I'm quite looking forward to having this time off. I really am. And I've got lots of, I don't know, I've just got so many ideas. I'm always an ideas person. They don't always necessarily come to fruition. But I've usually got sort of at least half a dozen ideas, new ideas going around at any one point in time. So it'd be quite nice to, finish off some of the things that I've already started and then make a start on some new things and write some lists. I haven't written a list for ages. Yeah. So it'd be quite nice.
I'm the other way around. I get one big idea and I'm like a terrier with a bone. Oh, I hang on to it and it's like, that's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And my current one is the camper van. That is going to happen. It's a when, not an if. And I'm researching like the Furies because that's what I do. As soon as I've got a thing, then I literally research the hell out of it to make sure I get exactly what I need. But it's that thing of I can be very tunnel visioned about things.
Yeah.
Have you set useful magically?
Yes. Have you set yourself a timeline for it?
I'd like it to be pretty soon, actually. I'd like to have it for this summer.
Yeah.
Whether that actually happens, I don't know, because it's not just down to me, clearly, but I do have quite strong powers of persuasion. But I think, and especially with recent events, it's like, stop putting off. You know, and if I got a camper van, it would function as my only transport, so it would be used. It's not like, oh well, it's an additional indulgence. It would be my regular transport. So yeah, but yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that if you don't, I've got an event that's not till next year, 2022. Do you know what? I've got 2 things I've been invited to in the next 10 years, and they're both on the same bloody day.
Oh, for goodness sake. That happens though, doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it just?
Really? Oh,
it's like our summer camps, isn't it? That it's one or the other, because you can't be at both. I haven't perfected the art of being in the same place at the same time, 2 places at once. That's magic is beyond me. Yeah.
So yeah, 2 invites, the 2 things in 18 months' time on the same day. Hurrah!
Great. Yeah.
One of them doesn't need a camper van because it'll be in London. The other one does need a camper van. So either you need to get your act together before that.
Oh well, before then, yes. That's a yes.
If not, I'll see if I can borrow Betty. So yes, either or.
Yeah. But you may not. I will have failed if I haven't got something sorted out by 2022. The questions will be asked.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on? Why has that not happened?
Exactly. It'd be so useful to me. Even if I go to boot fairs, I can brew myself a cup of tea and make myself a sandwich if I want. I haven't got to dash off. Exactly. It has so many practical uses.
I quite miss having mine, actually, because I love. I really loved having that. It was just lovely, and I do miss it. She's not very well, bless her, at the moment. She's got it's missing.
Well, she gets treated, you know, she gets used for all sorts of things as well, isn't it really?
Yeah,
For
but
working.
yeah, but she's not very well, so she's waiting to have some work done. Obviously, I don't have access to her much at the moment, but
No, but
yeah,
they're expensive as well, aren't they? And specialist and
and because she's so old, I mean, she's 30, 35, I think.
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
have a more modern one. I'll have
yeah,
to because I'm not a mechanic.
yeah. As I say, my one's, you know, she's 35 years old, and you know, some of the stuff on it's still, you know, the original things, but they've just, you know, they're just gone. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things, really. But I expect it will be sorted before the summer. So either way, hook or by crook,
Yeah, we'll get there.
get that. Yeah, the yellow peril, bless her.
Yes, very yellow. Yeah, I'm trying to find one with somewhat more subdued colours. Although the thought of having a white fan just doesn't appeal, and it's not that I've got anything against white fans, but it would need washing every 5 minutes, and I've got better things to do with my time. I quite like a black one, funnily enough.
Yes.
I've got my eye on one, but I've got my eye on one, and it happens to be black.
Yeah. I thought about having a black one before we bought the one that we did.
All my cars are black though.
Yeah. Colour cars,
Best
actually.
colour.
I'm fussy about black on the cars. But yeah, and it was a bit of a shock when this bright yellow one turned up. But she's so pretty. You know, she's very much girly, and she's covered in flowers and stuff.
Oh,
And
she's lovely, yes.
beautiful. But yeah. But I did think about having a black one. I was sort of, you know, envisaged it being, you know, sort of the Batmobile, basically.
It's slightly stealthier, I think.
Yeah.
Quite useful.
It's the bright yellow one. Driving along in the banana bus, everyone sees it. So.
Everyone sort of eyeballs it as they go past, which is quite nice. But it's also because she's old as well. She's the old shape.
Yeah, bless her. Good old Betty. Yeah.
Good old Betty. You can see me in a black one. Yeah, she'll be a Betty Boot Witchmobile.
You have to put broomsticks and stuff down the side.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, Granny Hill's flying broomstick. Yeah.
It's brilliant actually customising them. And I had fun doing my one. You know, and you know, she came when I got her. She was yellow and she had flowers on, and she needed a respray. And she was, you know, we like, you know, should we have it done different colour or whatever? It's like, no, she's yellow. Let's keep her yellow. You know, can't suddenly change her colour. That's just rude.
Yes.
So essentially, we sort of put her back to how she was before the respray. You know, with the flowers. The flowers were slightly different, but daisy chains on and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Happy times in that, and they're just so brilliant because, like you say, you can go anywhere, whether it's a car boot sale or, you know, away for a night or a week, doesn't matter. And they're just great. You know, you fancy a cup of tea, and so you stop and you have a cup of tea. It's just like, yeah, really nice. Oh, what we got here? What's Rowan saying? Oh, Rowan's just explaining.
Oh, how Jane can change her name.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yes, Rowan.
Just need a little gap between the Jane and the Trederik.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it naturally runs together. So apologies again, but yeah, well done, Rowan. Someone who knows about tech.
Yeah. Any gap will do. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, we've been nattering for over an hour, Mrs.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Yes.
Rocker disappeared today, wasn't it? We got sticker on the back, Heather. My other vehicle is a broom.
Yeah, I think I've probably got one of those somewhere, and it will be adorned. This one will be treated to everything. There'll be fairy lights inside and all manner of craziness.
It'll be the proper witchmobile, won't it?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. I can't wait till you've chosen one. Let's come and gawk at it. Oh dear. Oh, right. Well, we better say cheerio. So we'll see you next week. Thank you very, very much for listening and for your input. We will do some work on the American troubles.
Yes,
we'll definitely have a discussion about that in a bit, see what we can do. And obviously, for your mum, You know, hopefully she'll be over the other side of it before too long, and you know, sitting up in bed having a cup of tea and feeling much better before you know it. So yeah, so we'll light some candles for her too. So we'll, you know, best wishes there. So yeah, so we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, please. That'd be really nice. Thank you.
We like a thumb up.
We like a thumb up. Anyway, cheerio, and we'll see you next week.
Here's the awkward way.
Here it goes.